I'm Croatian, and when I was a kid, it mattered. My dad was Croatian. My grandfather is George Davic. He was a city worker for the city of Gary, street department, and he was a typical Croatian guy. Shirt off in the summertime, loud Croatian music, and tamburica going on, barbecuing a lamb spit in the front yard, being proud of it, so your neighbors see you're doing this lamb kind of thing, and very charismatic and gregarious. And I didn't realize it matters so much, but when I was a kid and I'd go to places with my dad, they would always ask, "Are you Croatian or are you Serbian?" And I'd go, "Croatian." Oh, it's either you get embraced with a hug or you go, "I'm Serbian," that kind of stuff. And then that trails away with the, I don't know, maybe homogenization of America, the whitewashing of America. It doesn't matter at all now. Now I ask people if they're Croatian or Serbian just out of kicks. I'm just kind of curious if they even know or if they care. Generally people don't care. But back then it mattered. My mom was a Protestant. She married my dad who was a Catholic. It was a big deal. It was like a biracial marriage. I'm thinking nobody liked that at all. So they had to deal with those kind of ethnic, problems, which I don't even recognize these days. But yeah, back then it mattered. It mattered very much. I was the baby of the family. We all grew up in this small little cracker box of a house that I didn't realize was so small until I went back as an adult. And we were just fine. We lived in the Miller section of Gary at 4513 Miller Avenue. It's called Ryan Subdivision. It was built by a guy named, I think, Glenn Ryan, who built a subdivision called Glen Ryan Subdivision. It's across the tracks from Etna. It's near the steel mills. I didn't realize till I was maybe in middle school or older that I was on the wrong side of the tracks. I thought I was on the right side of the tracks, but apparently I was on the wrong side of the tracks. It was the poor side of the tracks. Well, when you go to school in Wirt High School in Miller, it's located near the lakefront and the lakeshore, and that's where all the swell houses are and the bigger buildings and houses and kids who had money and affluence and cars, stuff like that. They all kind of lived around there by the lake. Glen Ryan Subdivision was 2 or 3 miles or more away, and I'd walk to school occasionally when I missed the bus. And you'd realize that walking, things are getting progressively better, you know what I mean? And then I had to walk past what was called back then a ghetto off of Lake Street in Miller, which is still kind of there. I don't think they call it a ghetto anymore, but it was. So I got to see these different neighborhoods along the way to school. I remember there was a lot of black kids back in middle school and high school who were, they were on welfare, and that's what we called it. We called it on welfare, and they had welfare tickets and free lunches, and they would sell those welfare free lunches so they can get money so they can buy drugs or other things they wanted, just fun things, whatever. And that was a kind of an early economic lesson for me of how things work in the real world. They sell their free lunches every day to me, this stupid-ass white kid who would buy a 40-cent lunch for like a quarter or $1 lunch for 50 cents. I'd get the discount, and he'd get a discount. We thought we were the two brilliant kids in the whole school. There was one guy, he would just sell all these lunch tickets, or welfare tickets as we called them, over and over. And I thought he was the smartest guy in the whole world. He's gonna be like a genius businessman someday. He might be, I don't even know. So these are things that I kind of learned that I didn't realize I was learning. I thought every kid did this in every school, until I got older and realized, hey, this is kind of different, this is kind of cool. And I wouldn't replace that, I wouldn't want to give that back.